Welcome to part 2 of neocons or neoconservatives. Who are these people and how they are influencing United States foreign policy and sometimes even the domestic policy. But the foreign policy is where they are the most aggressive. You're going to get to look at some of the names and the faces behind them and how they have played a role in the past or in the present. So that gives you an idea of how United States approaches its foreign policy. Here we go. As always, a small request, please like this video, and if you're not subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe to our channel. Here we go.
Badiagrama saved my life. This place is the best in the world. It's so professional, kind, gentle. It's absolutely, really the best.
I came here with some brain fog and it cured me. And this place is blessed by God. May God shower more grace on Badiagrama.
Who is considered to be the godfather of neoconservatism? It is this person, Irving Kristol, and he rose to prominence, I should say, in the 60s and 70s, and it is around him that the thought of neoconservatism took shape. Then you have a US Senator, Daniel Patrick Moynihan. He served in Nixon and Ford administrations on urban affairs. He early dissolution Democrat who bridged liberalism and neoconservatism. See, this is any background with the blue color means that person is politically a Democrat. A person, anyone with red would be a Republican. I think Daniel Patrick Moynihan may have been an ambassador to India also. Then Henry Scoop Jackson, US Senator from Washington, 1953 to 1983, 30 years, hawkish on foreign policy, inspired early neocons like Wolfowitz, ran for president in 72 and 76, unsuccessfully, of course. Then you have James Woolsey, director of the Central Intelligence Agency from 1993 to 1995 under Clinton. He blended neoconservative foreign hawks with democratic domestic views. Next, this is a very famous person. You all know who she is, Victoria Nuland. She is of Jewish heritage from Ukraine. One of the three who happened to be accidentally in the Biden administration. The other two are Merrick Garland and James Blinken. All three claim to have Ukrainian Jewish roots, and they all have a visceral hatred of Russia. So these three became a very potent combination under the Biden administration. With Biden in a semi-senile state, these people had a free run on what they wanted to do. Victoria Nuland was the Undersecretary of State under Obama from 2013 to 17, and then again under Biden from 21 to 24. She was the ambassador to NATO from 2005 to 2008 under G.W. Bush. Then, of course, the Secretary of State under Biden, Anthony Blinken, US diplomat, 71st Secretary of State from 2021 to 25, focused on rebuilding alliances, countering China and Russia, and managing crises, including Ukraine and the Israel-Hamas war. Merrick Garland, American lawyer and the 86th Attorney General in the Biden administration, he served under President Biden, focusing on justice reform and rule of law. All three are considered to be neocons, real, very aggressive neocons, and they were the ones who pivoted away from China and pointed to Russia as the main entity to go after. Then you have William Jefferson Clinton, the 42nd US president, intervened in the Balkans and Kosovo, and he also supported NATO expansion. Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, wife of Bill Clinton, she was the former Secretary of State, and she also ran for president in 2016, lost to Barack Obama. She focused on diplomacy, Iraq war vote, Libya intervention, Syria regime change policy, and she is considered to be the person who was behind that incident in Libya where the ambassador to the United States got killed in a big shootout. There are a lot of movies also on that. You can take a look at that. Also, Joe Biden, 46th US president, semi-vegetated state, supported the Iraq war, NATO expansion, strong pro-Ukraine stance as president. Barack Obama, this guy is one of those chameleons. He gets a peace prize even before he becomes president, Nobel Peace Prize. And everything he did was, most aggressive in terms of military actions. They led from behind in the invasion of Libya and the elimination of Gaddafi. But see, the thing is, he looks like he is restrained, but he executed some of the most harsh American military operations, such as Libya and drone interventions and many other things. Then, Samantha Power, American diplomat and former UN ambassador, promoted the responsibility to protect Doctrine, advocate of humanitarian intervention. I'm not sure if she's still in power or not. There is an organization that I think USAID, if I remember correctly. Just watch out. I might not have my latest data on her. Susan Rice. Susan Rice is supposed to have been the person who was taking orders from people like, this is alleged, from people like Obama and the deep state to execute the policy under Biden administration. In the initial stages of the Biden administration, one saw how there was a 180-degree flip-flop. Biden would say something and the next day they would go to the exact opposite. And it is believed that it was Susan Rice who were interfering in all these things and changing things around. Why Biden allowed that, only Biden can answer. Real nasty piece of work. American diplomat and policy advisor, served as US National Security Advisor and UN Ambassador, pushed for Libya strikes and African counter-terror operations. She was a regular in the White House till 2024 under the Biden administration. But I'm still struggling to find out what exactly her role was in the Biden administration. That is one of those mysteries that has not been solved, at least to me. Jake Sullivan, he was the National Security Advisor in the Biden administration, and he mixes realism and neocon style dominance. His wife is now a congresswoman in the US Congress. Madeleine Albright, grand old lady. She was first female Secretary of State from 1997 to 2001 under Bill Clinton, championed the US as indispensable nation. She actually was from Czechoslovakia, and she was offered the post of president when the Czech Republic and Slovakian Republic got split. I don't remember which of those two offered it, but she turned it down. I don't know why. It would have been a nice retirement package, if you ask me. Then the current US Senate minority leader, it's wrong, it's not majority leader now. He was a majority leader under Biden administration. Now he's a minority leader. Pro-Israel and NATO expansionist position. This is the person who is advocating for $1.5 trillion for medical aid or free medical care, or I should say Obamacare for illegals. This is where one of the big sticking points of the current financial or the current government shutdown is. Now let's take a look at some of the Republican neocons. Paul Wolfowitz, he was the Deputy Secretary of Defense under George Bush II. He was the Undersecretary of Defense from 1989 to 1993 under George H.W. Bush, that is the senior. He is the architect, or he is believed to be the architect of Iraq war strategy. Jeane Kirkpatrick, US Ambassador to the UN between 1981 to 85 in the Reagan era. Her 1979 essay, Dictatorships and Double Standards, became a neoconservative manifesto. Douglas Feith, Undersecretary of Defense for Policy under George W. Bush, this is the junior Bush, contributed to the post 9/11 Iraq planning. Then you have William Bennett, US Secretary of Education from 85 to 88 under Reagan. He was the Director of National Endowment for the Humanities from 81 to 85, neoconservative on education and culture wars. Then you have Elliot Abrams, Assistant Secretary of State under the Reagan-Bush era, Deputy National Security Advisor from 2005 to 2009 under the second term of George Bush Jr., and a Special Envoy for Venezuela under Trump from 2019. Paul Wolfowitz, Deputy Secretary of Defense from 2001 to 2005 under George W. Bush Jr., Under Secretary of Defense 1989 to 93 under Bush Sr., and the architect of Iraq war strategy. L. Paul Bremer, Administrator, Coalition Professional Authority of Iraq. He is a guy who basically did the huge blunder of essentially dismantling the Iraqi army. And this went on to become the core of the ISIS. People won't tell you that. It was a huge, huge blunder on his part. In fact, India offered assistance to the Americans, saying that, look, we know how peace was kept in the 1920s, and we'll be happy to share with you all the documentation from that period. These guys just dismissed it, saying that we know what we are doing, no thanks. And well, they could have at least understood the underlying tribal loyalties and pulls and pressures if they had looked at some of the data that India was willing to provide. This was after the invasion was done. Bremer was the person appointed, entrusted with reconstruction of Iraq, and he made a real royal mess of it. John McCain, another neocon, US Senator from Arizona from 1987 to 2018, 2008 presidential candidate against Obama, and hawkish interventionist on global affairs. John Bolton, I told you about John Bolton. This guy was the national security advisor to Trump in his first term, US ambassador to UN under George W. Bush Jr., and an advocate for regime change. For everywhere he wants that. Lindsey Graham, this is the guy who's actually pulling a lot of weight now in the Trump administration. US Senator from South Carolina from 2003. I believe he's running for re-election, and I think he has the endorsement of Trump, and believed to have been a close ally of McCain, and he supports robust US military interventions. Then you have Mitch McConnell. He hates Trump, but on this particular case, I mean, as a neocon, he is also has backed neoconservative policies in Congress. He was from Kentucky 2015 to 21. I think now he's no longer, he's said that he's not going to be running for the Senate again. Mike Pompeo, he was one of the gentler neocons, I would say. US Secretary of State under the first Trump administration. Somehow he fell out of favor with Trump on the second term, and Trump publicly said he was not going to hire him. He was the CIA director between the period 2017 to 18 and a hawk on China and Iran. Then Ronald Reagan, 40th US president from 1981 to 89, led a conservative revival, strengthened the military, and helped end the Cold War. George Bush Jr., 43rd president, led America through 9/11, launched wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and advanced the war on terror. And now you have the current Secretary of State, US Senator from Florida. He's also known for his hawkish foreign policy and strong national security stand. Well, between all of these people, Trump gets pushed this way and that way and that way and this way. And that's why you are seeing sometimes this 180-degree policy flip-flop, especially in foreign policy. Let's hope that clarity starts emerging and that United States settles down to a more stable, predictable foreign policy. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. This was the concluding part 2 about neoconservatives. I hope you've got education on what this whole movement is, who are the people who are active under this movement, who call themselves neoconservative, what do they stand for, and why America acts sometimes the way it does. Thanks once again. Namaskar.